Welcome back to Major League Mindset. I am more than excited today to have the person I have on. I have on today Ognjen Topic, one of the top Muay Thai boxing fighters in the world. And I want to thank Ognjen for the time of being on the interview. Ognjen, you and I were both connected via a mutual connection of ours, a friend of ours, Steve Conca.
Yep.
Steve wearing the Agency Annex hat today. By the way, if you are in the insurance space and you want a better website, you know your company needs a better website with a better message that you need to take to the market, you would do yourself a wise favor to get a hold of these guys at Agency Annex. They build websites with the right creative marketing, the right creative message for the industry. So if you have any questions, want to know more about Steve and his agency, just shoot me a message in the comments below, and I'll make sure to get you connected with Steve. But let's get back to today's interview. A little bit about Ognjen's background, or a little bit about him today, I should say. He is the #1 ranked Muay Thai boxing fighter in North America. He is the current WKA North American champion. He is the current WBC North American champion. He is 3-time world champion, which includes the Grand Prix lightweight world champion, the former Lion fighting world champion, as well as the IKF world champion. Welcome to the show, Ognjen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be fun. All right, so cool. Want to level set, Ognjen, if I can. You were born in Serbia, former Yugoslavia. You came over to the United States around age 9. Tell my listeners a little bit about what that was like to come over at that age, which is such an age of influence, to be an immigrant coming from an Eastern European country over the United States.
Well, I was actually born in Bosnia, but I'm considered a Serbian. And just a little history before that, so people understand why I'm considered a Serbian instead of a Bosnian, even though I was born in Bosnia. In Bosnia, we have 3 different religious groups. We have Christian Orthodox, Catholic Christian, and then Muslim. So you're kind of like decided on what you are based on your religion over there. So when the war started, we couldn't stay in Bosnia because Bosnia has a greater population of Muslim. So the war was political, but it was also very religious too. So we had to leave Bosnia and then go to Serbia, where it's mainly predominantly Christian Orthodox religion, and then the Catholic Christians are mainly in Croatia. So we moved to Serbia when the war began in Bosnia, and that was in 1993. So we lived there up until 1995, and I was 9 at that point. And my father was here working on a visa with his brother in his construction company, and he was playing the immigration lottery, and he finally won it, and that's how we were able to come to America. And I was 9 when I came here.
Which is going to be an interesting segue to some future questions here, Ognjen, because you're not the biggest proponent of luck, right?
Not at all.
However, you guys won the immigration lottery to get over here in the United States. So such an interesting perspective coming over. Let me ask you this. At age 9, as you're coming over, going to an entirely new environment, entirely new country, can you recall what that felt like from a mindset perspective as a 9-year-old boy?
I mean, it was one of the greatest feelings, because everybody dreams about coming to America and New York. I mean, that's just how it was, you know. And this is where money grows from trees, you know. And you know, from seeing America on movies, and I mean, it's in your face constantly, especially in New York. And so for us, I mean, I remember as a kid, we would look up at the sky while we were in Serbia, and we would see planes flying over, and we would say, that's going to be us one day. That's going to be us one day. And finally, that was us, you know. So we came to one of the greatest countries in the world, you know, with where there's so many opportunities. So once we came here, I mean, for me, it wasn't It wasn't that difficult. Of course, I didn't speak the language at all. Me and my sister, we only spoke Serbian, and so we had to learn how to speak English. And uh, the kids were pretty welcoming. We didn't have many issues where we first moved to, where it was a town called Halden near Patterson, and it was a big mix of different cultures there. So there was a lot of Hispanics, blacks, um, Palestinian people there, and then of course the Eastern European bloc. So everybody was kind of like an immigrant to begin with, almost,
Mhm.
and everybody was very welcoming. When I moved to Ringwood, which it was predominantly just mainly white class and white people. That's when I had some kind of a little bit of tensions and issues. People would make fun of me for my accent and things like that. But when I was in the other town, I never had any issues.
It's interesting. And for those of you who don't know Ognjen's story or where he is today, he lives in New Jersey, where Ognjen, if I'm correct, that's where he grew up as well, as in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. For those of you unfamiliar where Patterson, New Jersey is. So let's now take it a little fast forward ahead. Here you are, you're at William Patterson University. If I recall, you're getting your graphics art degree. And you didn't come out of college going right into the profession of Muay Thai boxing. You actually started, like most of us watching this video today, in the business world as a graphic artist, correct?
Yeah.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about Topic Creative and where that was when you were coming out of college. What was your goal at the time with the graphic arts degree?
Well, that didn't exist. That came out much later. But before I tell you that, I have to tell you my mentality behind becoming a graphic designer. I was always into art and I was constantly drawing everything. I was just a creative person as far as that goes. And so when I was in seventh, eighth grade, I was a very bad kid. And I was just causing like havoc for no reason. No reason. My parents were great to me. I was just going through a stage. As soon as I hit high school, that's when I knew I had to change because now I told myself that I'm becoming a grown up, and I can't be messing around and fooling around anymore. Now I have to start taking things seriously. And I went to a tech school that offered a lot of different art classes. And so I started with graphic design, but I really wanted to be a painter, oil painting. That was my passion. So by the time my fourth year came in high school, I had to decide what I wanted to do. I wanted to do painting, illustration, but I truly wasn't, I didn't want to work that hard at it. So I had to make a decision. I liked graphic design as well, and I was willing to work harder at that. And not only that, but the competition is very high at that level for, let's say, a painter or illustrator, and to be one of the best. I mean, there's so much talent out there, and so you have to really work hard. But I didn't love it that much, even though it was my passion. I didn't love it that much where I wanted to work that hard for it. So I chose graphic design, and I was okay at it, but I wasn't great at it. And then during my college years, I throughout following principles and stuff like that for design, I became very, very good at it. And I ended up winning a lot of awards as well. And then that's where I came out with TopicCreative.com, which is my website for graphic design. And then throughout doing that, I started training in Muay Thai. So that was in 2005 when I started training in Muay Thai.
How old were you when you started training Muay Thai?
18. But prior to that, I started falling in love with combat sports at age 14. And so I wanted to become a boxer and do boxing, but my parents said absolutely not, because their mentality was, we brought you to this country to go to college and go to school and be educated and make something of your life. For them, fighting, it was like the lowest aspect of making money. You're literally fighting to make money now, you know, and
Yeah.
that didn't sit well with them either. And because I told you I was a wild kid as well, I had a lot of issues with my head. I mean, I was like had like stitches on my head 3 times, and they just didn't want me to get, you know, take any damage to the head. So I said, okay, fine, no boxing, but let me do karate or taekwondo because there's no hits to the head. So they let me do taekwondo. So I started at age 14, but throughout that whole time, I knew it was bullshit. It wasn't the real thing, you know, because you can't call yourself a fighter or be ready to get into that type of situation if there's no hits to the head or other parts of the body besides just the body and using your kicks. So then finally I found Muay Thai, and I was watching TV once, ESPN, and they were showing Muay Thai fights. And Muay Thai is a sport that originates in Thailand,
Hmm.
and it's similar to kickboxing, except you can use knees and elbows. So it's a very damaging sport, and I found that, and I fell in love with it automatically. And I started researching it online. I found the school. I went there, and that was it. I've been with the same gym ever since I was 18, and I'm 33 years old now. So
Wow. That's awesome. So I hear two really important messages that came out of that story. Number one, when you left high school to go to college for graphics design, you weren't all that good at it.
right,
But through a lot of hard work, a lot of practice, working on the craft, you ended up becoming a very, very good graphic designer, which is why we have Topic Creative today. Number two,
right,
when you wanted to get into combat sports, you had a lot of opinions of people telling you, no, don't do that. That's the wrong way to go. You can't make money doing that. Yet you kept going after it. You kept going after that passion, and look where you are today. 3-time world
right,
champ, #1 ranked fighter in North America. I'd say you probably made the right decision in not taking so many opinions.
right. And then to go further on that, when I first became an amateur, I mean, when I first started doing Muay Thai, right? I knew my father and my mother, it wasn't going to sit well with them when I told them that I wanted to do Muay Thai. And then when I explained to them what it was, they knew, okay, this is like kickboxing. This kid's doing basically boxing, but now there's legs and leg kicks and knees and elbows involved. So that's even worse now than boxing to them. So they flipped out on me. They didn't want me to do it, and I said, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna fight. I just want to train." But in the back of my mind, of course, I was gonna fight. There was no way that I was gonna do something and not try to do it at the highest level, which is fighting. I mean, that's like, studying for something and never taking a test. You don't know where your true capabilities are if you don't do that. So after about a year and a half, no, after about a year and a half, 2 years, I started fighting as an amateur, and this was all behind my parents' back.
Hmm.
They had no clue I was doing that, and I had a good amateur career, and I probably had like 15 fights without them knowing, right? And my sister knew, so she always kept the kept it behind their backs. So if I would like have a fight and get like a bruise or something on my eye, I would just sleep over a friend's house and then go train the next day and then come back from training and tell them it was that training, not to worry about it. It's nothing. So they had no clue what was going on. And then finally my one of my cousins who lives in England, he saw one of my fights, and I was very very cautious with having my fights on YouTube because that's when YouTube first started up. And so my parents didn't find out. I never posted anything up on like social media or anything like that. And my cousin finds a fight, calls up my dad, and he tells him about it. And my dad freaks out, and he stops talking to me for about 4 months because of
Wow.
that. Yeah. So I mean, and I was living with them at the time, and we would just pass each other like we were ghosts. I wouldn't talk to him, he wouldn't talk to me, and yeah. So then I reached 20 amateur fights, and then after that, after about that 4 month period, we never spoke about it. We just kind of went back to we started conversing again because I think obviously he knew that I wasn't going to stop. And it's better for them not to even ask any questions. Just let me do what I do, and that's it. So we didn't even bring it up for the next whatever, however many fights we had.
Again, I'm curious, was the silence you got from your father and your parents, was that more of the fact that you were fighting and they didn't want you to, or that you had failed to tell them that you were fighting?
No, it was because they didn't want me to
Okay.
fight. Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
so before I go on, just to have your audience understand the mentality behind this, you know, I love my parents. I would do anything for them. I would die for them, and that's like, I would just do that right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And with all that being said, there was no way that there was anyone that was gonna stop me from doing what I wanted to do, which is be a fighter. So that's how passionate I was about this. So, in other words, you can't let anybody come between you. And sometimes I would say your worst enemies is your family. Not that my parents didn't want me to succeed; they cared for me. They didn't want me to get hurt. So anybody that gets in your way, you got to move to the side. I don't care if it's your and I mean, I'm very cutthroat. I don't care if it's your brother, if it's your father, if it's your mother. You got to put them to the side and stay on your track, because nobody can live your life for you besides you.
That's a great point.
Um,
Again, I tell insurance advisors all the time. You first got to figure out who's in your tribe and who are you surrounding yourself. Are people lifting you up or dragging you down? And often, the people dragging you down are family members.
yeah,
And that's a
absolutely.
tough conversation for people to have, tough thought process for people to go through. Is maybe I have to limit time with certain people in my family if I am truly on this mission to achieve my passion and they're not believing in it or they want to take me away from it.
Correct.
Those are very tough decisions for people to make. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, correct. And then friends for me is like, that's easy. I just cut them all out. No,
Yep.
no problem there. As if they're not on the same level as me, or they're trying to hold me back from something, they're out. They're gone. Um,
So let me ask you this, Ogden. You were out of college working as a graphic designer
yeah,
and fighting at the same time as an amateur. There came a point where you realized I'm really good at this.
yeah,
And it's time to take this full time. It's time to maybe put the
right.
graphic design aside for a bit, and it's time to really pursue a professional career in Muay Thai boxing. Take us back to that moment. Where was your mindset? What made you realize it's time for me to take this to the next level?
Yeah, I had about two or three professional fights. So then finally, I had to sit my parents down, and tell them that, you know, obviously this isn't a joke for me. You know, this is now becoming my profession, and you guys will either support me, or this is the last time you're ever gonna see me. And I was dead serious. I wasn't joking about that. And like I said, I love my parents. I would do
Yep.
anything for them, but I was willing to make all of these sacrifices. And I knew my mother was gonna, um, you know, I knew she wasn't gonna say no. I knew that she would support me, but I was skeptical about my father, because he could have went either way, you know. And because he's hard headed, um, uh, you know, I had thoughts in my mind that he would say no, and I was willing to depart with him for the rest of my life if I
Yep.
needed to. And happily, they both said, we'll support you, and they've been supporting me ever since then. But yeah, when I turned pro, you know, obviously this was my life now. And at that time, I already had a graphic design job. I had one before I graduated college as well. And that was a full time job. As soon as I left college, that became my full time job. So I was doing that 9 to 5, and then I would have to go to the gym from 5 to 9, basically. And I would have to fit all of these different things that require you to know about the sport and to do the sport correctly,
Yep.
within those hours. So my life was very, very hectic at that time, and that went on for a few years. And then finally I said, I can't do this anymore. My body can't sustain this type of work anymore, because I'm
Yep.
fighting at a very high level. So I'm
Yep.
fighting guys that are from Thailand who have been doing this since age 8, 9, and I've been doing this since 18. So I'm already behind. So I
Hmm.
have to figure things out mentally, how I can get on their level, within that time, but I'm only training once a day, and I have a 9 to 5 job, you know, and and so I had to talk to my bosses. I resigned from the job, and my bosses were also very, very supportive of me and my career throughout the whole time. You know, they knew I had to leave at 5, so
Yeah.
I did all my work. I did everything that needed to be done within those 8 hours, and that's it. I'm not staying a minute over. I have to go and do something else. So, like I said, they were very supportive. They understood. And throughout that time, I went to Thailand, I think about 2 times, for a month. And then after that time, that was 2013. I went to Thailand for about 7 months, and then that's when things started kicking off.
So a couple huge important lessons there if you're listening to this interview right now. Number one, time blocking. When you were working as a graphic designer and fighting on the side, you had to be so diligent about your time in order
Yeah.
for you to be effective every single day, right? Number two, I want to ask you a question because you also made a really important point. Most of your competition from Thailand was born to do this. Let's be
Yeah.
honest, right? You didn't start till you were 18. So I'm sitting out there, if I'm a insurance advisor who didn't get in the industry right away, and I'm going up against people who've been doing it for 10, 15 years. Ogden, what would you say is the number one mindset somebody in that position has to have if they feel like they're years behind because of when they got started?
Well, I mean, there's many different mindsets to have, but I would say one of the most important is being confident in what you know up until that point, and you have to work hard, because that's also going to give you confidence. You have to have a high self-esteem, uh, which translates to not really caring about what other people think of you, and you're the only one that matters. Your opinion is the only one that matters. And so yeah, I would say that confidence is probably one of the biggest things. But confidence is not going to take you very far unless you know the actual job.
Yep.
So you have to know your job as well, and anything else after that is going to just be experience up until that point.
Yep. So let me bring the question back to you now. You went from starting behind, technically, right, by age, and here you are, one of the top fighters in the world, 3-time world champ, multiple championships here in North America. What would you say for you has been the number one mindset process in that entire journey to lead you where you are today?
For me, I think it was mainly just wanting to be the best that I can be, and that was it. And I was just obsessed with the small details. So I mean, shaving like 500th of a second on my kick, just trying to be as fast as possible. Small little minute details, and those I believe are always the building blocks of the final product.
That's awesome. And that's
So
awesome because if you're watching this right now and you're in sales, you know, attention to detail matters. What you're
yeah,
saying to your prospect matters. Even those little words you're putting in, how you're saying those matter. Everything you do when no one's watching, it matters to the success
yeah,
you're having today. So this is a fun question I want to ask. You're not a big proponent in luck. And a lot of people in the sales profession often think the big sale, the big win happens by being at the right place at the right time, and you just happen to be lucky. But you don't think along those lines. Tell us a little bit about how you feel luck really isn't been playing in a role in where you've gotten today, that you just have a true belief in it's me and I can control my destiny.
yeah. I mean, I luck has nothing to do with it. For me, it was I put the work in, and to be honest with you, it was like disrespectful to me because now I'm the one that's working putting all these hours in the gym, and you're gonna say it was luck? Fuck you. There's nothing lucky about that. It was all me, and of course my team, my coaches, and everybody else that helps me out. So I was always pissed off when somebody would say that, oh, you're lucky, this, that. No, none of that has anything to do with my success, and I've learned that all from the sport. Sometimes sometimes you get what you put out of it.
Yep.
If you don't train hard enough, you're not going to do so well. If you train hard, you're going to do well. But you know, you also have to train smart as well. So yeah, that's how I feel about luck.
That's awesome. I mean, that's exactly it on the head. I think a lot of people think they look at people having success, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business, and they think a lot of it's luck, right? And what I think, like you said, I love the fact you said that's actually disrespectful, because what a lot of people forget is the hours that you put in practicing and honing your craft when no one's watching.
Right.
That allows you to have the success that everybody sees. No one is an overnight success. So I'm very glad you said that. Well, just a couple more questions, Ognjen, and I'll let you get back to your day. You also have a business side to training where you also teach others in the sport of Muay Thai boxing. What would you say, what are the lessons you want to teach people? So if I want to join your class today, what would be the mindset lessons, the mindset topics you would focus on in making sure I could at least perform in the sport adequately?
Well, you know, the basics, you can never learn enough of the basics. You have to keep drilling those things over and over, so it becomes very natural to you and your body. And then, you know, like we spoke about before, the high self-esteem and being confident. And no matter how many times you get knocked down or you lose a fight, for me, it never translated into the next fight. You know, this was one block of my life, and it's done now. I'm done with it. I learned something from it. I'm going on to the next, and that was it. So it's just different way of thinking. You know, of course, I can fall into depression and be upset about some of my losses and just get hung up there. But you have to kind of like you have to ask yourself questions, talk to yourself, and you can always find an answer from that. But yeah, I would say those are some of the things that I would be discussing.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many lessons that come out of this interview, and this is why I'm so grateful you did this. Is here you are. For those of you listening, let's rewind for a second. You come over to this country at age 9, so we could actually say you came over. The odds were stacked against you in a way, right? And here you are. You get into a sport. You fall in love with a sport called Muay Thai boxing, which, by the way, you got into 10 years behind most everybody else.
Yeah.
Yet, because of the fact you didn't take so many opinions, you didn't care what anybody else had to say. You just worried about yourself. You honed your craft. The hours and hours you put in when nobody was watching. Here you are again, world champion, North America champion, #1 Muay Thai boxer in North America. So again, if you're out there watching right now, no excuses that you're behind. No excuses that you got started too late. No excuses you don't have the resources. We all have the time. We all have the ability to put in the hours that you need to put in to make you the best that you can become at what you do. Now, last question for you, Ognjen. For the sales professional watching this video, who might be new to the industry, struggling to get wins, just like you win in kickboxing and Muay Thai boxing, what would you say is the #1 piece of advice you would give on mindset to somebody who might be new into the sales profession?
Well, if they truly do care about that profession, just cannot quit. You have to keep going. Have to keep going no matter what. And I'm telling you right now, if you just keep going, it's almost guaranteed that you'll succeed. And you can't give yourself backup plans. You know, it was interesting up until about 3 years ago. I never really thought about this, but I had another interview, and the interviewer asked me what my backup plan was if I didn't succeed in Muay Thai, and I had no answer for him. I had no backup plan. This was it for me, and that's that. So I was never in in that mind frame where, you know, if this doesn't work out or if I'm not good enough, I'll just do something else. No, this was it. I was going to be good at it, and that's that. I didn't give myself any options.
I'm so glad you said that, because I live by this credo. You might be smarter than me. You might have more resources than me. But when you stop doing what you do because you give up, I'm going to keep going. My persistence and consistency is going to beat you. So I'm so glad you said that. And it's burning the boats, Ogden. You got to burn
Right.
the boats. No backup plan. Go for it and make it happen. So last but certainly not least, if somebody that's listening to this video wanted to reach out to you or find a way to get a hold of you, what are the best ways to reach out?
Well, they can find me on Instagram, at Topic Fight, or Twitter or Facebook, and then the website TOPIC topicfight.com. They can check out my design stuff, topiccreative.com, and I'm saying topic because it's just easier for listeners to get that down. But yeah, any one of those ways they can reach out to me.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I want to thank you again for being on today, for taking the time to be here. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you again, Steve Conca, for making this connection. If you're out there watching this, I hope you took a lot of notes. And if you're struggling with where you are today in sales or wherever you are in your career, remember, you are literally just one mindset shift away from greatness. So use the lessons you learned from Ognjen today. Go make it happen. Go burn the boats. Quit taking so many opinions and go achieve the success you know you're capable of having. Ognjen, thank you again, man. Really appreciate that.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah,
it.
thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. That's it for episode 5, guys. Until next time, have an awesome week.